Hey guys, welcome back to my video. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Hannah, and here on my channel I do an array of different genre of videos. um, if you are new here, you will be learning that my husband and I, we are currently trying to conceive baby number 2. I do have one child. I do have a daughter. Her name is Alicia. She is 3 years old. And we are just ready to start expanding our family. And with my daughter, I didn't have the opportunity to document my first pregnancy or my labor and delivery. And luckily, at the time, I was on an app, Baby Center, and there I documented quite a lot of my pregnancy on there. There was a lot of drama, things that happened during my pregnancy, and then there was also, of course, the day that I went into labor, and I don't know how or why, but I was all over it. I was on it, sharing my birth story with all the other moms on there that I had either had their children or their babies, or were getting ready to have their babies. And me being due in the late end of the month, I was patiently waiting for my turn, and I got to see a lot of other mothers who delivered early in the month share their stories, and I really, really loved it. And there was kind of, I don't know, I knew that when I was in labor and delivery that I would want to do a live kind of thread during my delivery, so that's actually what I ended up doing, and I got a lot of great information on my phone from this stuff, so this is great. I thought it was perfect, because although I do remember a majority of my labor and delivery, some things were a little bit skewed in my head than what it was to what I was typing on that form that day. So I just wanted to go through and kind of share my story on how I was able to deliver my daughter into this world. So yeah, let's go ahead and get into that video. I know it was a long intro, but let's get into it. Alright, here we go. Alright, so my due date was February 23rd, and Anthony's birthday is February 19th, so we were kind of hopeful that we would get a birthday around Daddy's birthday. But thankfully, she ended up actually being a week past due, so she is a March baby. And it was pretty cool because actually that year, I believe, was a leap year. Yeah, I think it was a leap year. So we were hoping to see if we would have a leap baby, but it didn't end up happening. And on that night of that leap day, I had been having contractions all night, and they were getting really, really close. They were getting really, really close, and they were about 10 minutes apart, and they were lasting more than a minute long, and so I thought for sure this was it. I was going to go into labor naturally, and that was my story. That was going to be my story. But no. I want to say about 4 or 5 o'clock that night, I had started having contractions, and then they kept going for many, many hours, and then around 1 o'clock, I decided that I was going to hop in the shower, make sure I drank some water in case this wasn't it, that, like, you know, I made sure that everything was done to get that out of my head and stop me from being too excited for myself, or, so I hopped in the shower, I drank a whole bunch of water, and I just kind of prepped everything because I thought for sure that this was gonna be it. So I get out around 2 in the morning, I'm done, and I'm like, okay, I'm still feeling these contractions, this is it, I know for sure we're good. What I'm gonna do is lay down and try and see if I can rest a little bit before the big day tomorrow. And so I went to bed. And if you guys know, when you go into labor, or when you feel like you're going into labor and you go to sleep, you wake up and nothing's happening, that was that. That's exactly what happened to me. So I had stayed up all night having all these contractions, and they were pretty mild pain. They weren't like super painful, but I could tell that they were contractions, and so I was so bummed to wake up and them not be contractions because I was completely not contracting anymore. I was rested. I was like ready to go, and it bummed me out. But I knew later on, I think it was at 10 o'clock in the morning, I had my 41-week appointment with my doctor. And so it wasn't that big of an issue because I knew we were going to, at this point, discuss induction, which was perfectly fine with me. I was 41 weeks. It's not like, she is coming out early. Like, she was fully developed, and she was ready to come out. So I get into my doctor's office, and I tell him everything that happened last night, and he was really positive about what I was experiencing. Oh, one last thing. The night that I was contracting, the previous night when I was contracting all night, I had been having light bleeding, and I did get a little bit of the plug come out, so that's why I really believed that I was in labor, but I wasn't. As you know, you can start losing your mucus plug weeks before you actually go into labor, and because I was 41 weeks, I thought this was like that for sure sign that, girl, you're going into labor, but it wasn't. So I told my doctor. He was super excited, and he wanted to check me to see where I was at, because up until this point, I had zero dilation. I was high and tight. I was 0% face. Like, she was not coming. So when he decided that he was going to check me to see where I was at, we were expecting to see at least 1 centimeter dilated, like anything, a fingertip, whatever, anything, but nothing. I was still 0 centimeters. I was still high and tight, and there was no sign that baby girl was coming. And I was very heartbroken because I was so excited last night, and I was like, okay, if it's not labor, it's got to be the start of something. But no, it was not, and I was surely devastated. But my doctor decided that he was going to schedule me for my induction date that day. So he leaves the room, and then he comes back and he says, okay, I got you scheduled for your induction. It's going to be tonight at 4:30 p.m. So be back here at the labor and delivery unit, and we will start your induction process. And at this point, I was so excited. I finally had an answer when I was going to be able to start this process. Now, from being a child, I've always known that I wanted children, and I want to experience labor, and I want to experience pregnancy. So experiencing that end game, the whole labor and delivery process, was the highlight point of my pregnancy, and I was so excited. From the moment that I found out I was pregnant, I never had a worry about labor and delivery. I know a lot of women do have that skepticism. Even though this was my first child, I wasn't fearful. Like, this was something that I had planned for pretty much my whole life, and I was going to seize the opportunity, and I was going to get the best out of it that I can, even though I couldn't do it naturally. So we end up leaving my doctor's appointment, and at this point, me and Anthony are, okay, we got a couple hours to just do whatever we can to A, make this baby come out, and B, make me as comfortable as I could be and content as I could be. So that means I gotta go get food, I gotta make sure I'm clean, I gotta make sure I have all of my stuff, I gotta make sure everything's ready to go, so that way we can have this baby here at 4:30 p.m. And this date was March 1st. So March 1st, we find out we're going in that night to be induced. So we get into the car, and I tell my sister, okay, this is the plan, this is what's going to happen, I am hungry, we need to go get food. And my sister Elizabeth is like, all right, girl, I'll be there, and we can go out and get your last meal, if you will. And that's what we did. So my last meal before I went in to deliver my daughter was pho, I craved soup because I didn't have much of an appetite to eat anything very filling. So soup just sounded the best to me, and fuzz super flavorful and delicious, and like it's got all that good broth, and so that was what I chose. While I was there, I was looking at the pictures on their walls, and they have portraits of the food that they serve there. And I was looking around, and they had this picture of hot wings on their board, and it looked so spicy and so delicious, and I was like, I have to have that. And here at this particular pho restaurant, we always only go get pho. I don't typically order anything off of the menu. I just go to other Asian food places to try different food menus, but specifically at this place, I only ever tried the soup there, so I was really curious on what these wings tasted like. So I got those wings and I ate them, and they were so good, but they weren't spicy enough. I just wanted them to be spicier, you know, because I'm a girl who loves her spice. It's got to be spicy for me to really, really love it. Spicy and flavorful. It can't just be spicy with no flavor, because then what's the point? So we get that, then we get into the car, and we're all full, very full from eating, and we pass by a McDonald's, and I see that they have these Shamrock Shakes, and instantly I'm like, oh, I want it. I want mint chocolate or mint whatever it is. Like, I know it's mint. Give me it. I want mint. And it's cold, and it's a hot day today, so let's go get it. So we go into the drive-thru, and they tell me, no, we actually aren't serving it yet. It'll be in a couple weeks. And I was so devastated, but I ended up getting like a caramel shake or something, a frappuccino or something like that. So we got that, and about this time, it was nearing the time to go to the hospital. So we go back home, I take my last showers, we get in the car, and we head back down to the hospital. On my way down to the hospital, my mom calls me, and it's a long story with my mother. I love my mother with every piece of my heart. I really do, but we have not had the easiest time getting to know each other and like really, you know, establish a relationship that a mother and daughter would have, because I grew up with my father. So my mom, she's very particular in her ways of doing things, and so she was not really for my induction. She pretty much called me and tried to get me to not do it, but at this point I was ready, and so I went. And we got there at, I want to say it was like 4:28 or something. We walk up in there, sign all my paperwork, and I was in my room by 5 p.m. So the plan is we were going to do 4 to 5 rounds of Cytotec, which is a little pill that they place directly onto your cervix, so that way it'll soften it. It's not supposed to start labor or anything like that. It's just supposed to soften it, so that way when they give you Pitocin, your body is more inclined to progress and continue forward. So at 5:30, I got my first Cytotec pill on my uterus, and we waited. So every 4 hours, they were going to put a new pill, capsule, whatever it is, directly onto my cervix until they feel me and can feel that I am ready for Pitocin. And so 5:30, they put the first one in, and by the time they're getting ready to put the second dose on my cervix, we all noticed that I was having very intense contractions. The Cytotec ended up not just softening my cervix, but actually sending me into labor, if you will. A type of labor, like early labor. It wasn't like full-blown labor, but it was like early labor. Symptoms my body had not been experiencing before besides the Braxton Hicks contractions. So they checked me to see if I was a candidate to get the second dose or not, and because my contractions were so close, it wasn't giving me any relaxing time in between. Like typically they'll be like every 5 or 10 minutes, you know. No, this was like every 30 seconds to a minute I was having another contraction, and they were long contractions and they were very hard contractions, as if I had already had the Pitocin, which was weird. But I mean, I'm 41 weeks, my body's going to go ahead and do whatever the heck it wants to do, no matter what the doctors are doing to it, you know. So they decided not to give me my second Cytotec, not Cervidil, Cytotec pill, and just kind of waited out and see what my body was doing. So after the medicine just kind of wore off of my uterus, we decided, So after the Cytotec kind of dissolved away from my uterus, my contractions came back down to a normal, you know, distance apart. They were about like 15 minutes apart. They weren't 30 seconds to a minute close anymore. And so we let that go on for a couple hours, and then my nurse came in to check me. And because they placed the Cytotec directly onto my cervix, they can't check me with a lubricated glove. And it hurt so bad. I never felt anything so painful in my life. Like, they have to wear gloves, obviously, so having a rubber, something that's not lubricated, and trust me, girl, I am not in the mood to get myself lubricated, you know what I'm saying, to make this an easier process. So the nurse reached up there, and I swear she had like the smallest hands because she was reaching so far up there, and I was just like in so much pain. I had never had a check this painful ever. And my sister Jessica was in the room at the time. I think my sister Jessica, Elizabeth, and then I believe it was either my dad or I think it was my dad. And then Anthony was in the room. And my sister, at this point, she saw how much pain I was in, my sister Jessica. And so she got up and she was like, "What are you doing to her?" Like, you know, trying to be all invasive and, you know, kind of ask the nurse, like, "What the heck are you doing? Why are you hurting her? Like, she's clearly in pain. Stop what you're doing." And the nurse was like, "At this point, I need to check where she's at. She's allowing me to do it. If she wants me to stop, I can stop, whatever." And I was like, "No, I just want to be checked. Let's get myself checked." And so we completed that check. At this point, it had been about, I want to say 7-8 hours, and I was barely dilated to 1 centimeter. And because I had been in the bed for that long, or not in bed, but like in the room, I had gone and walked around a little bit, but like nothing was really happening. And so the nurse had talked to, who was it? It was the on-call nurse at the time. So I had never met this nurse, or the on-call doctor. I had never met this doctor. I don't know who she is. I don't know her history. I don't know anything. So she decided that she wanted to go ahead and break my water to see if anything could happen naturally, because, like I said, I wanted to do everything as much as I could naturally myself, and if that Cytotec threw me into labor and my body could do the rest of it, I wanted that to happen. I did not want to get an epidural so early. I didn't want to get Pitocin, especially very early. I wanted to wait as much as I could, but my body was just not doing it. I was so tense. I was so what's the word? It felt like I had like a really intense workout and I just could not move anything in my body. I felt so weak, but like so sore, like all over. And it wasn't so much the cramps that, or the contractions that hurt. It was just so much that I was so physically exhausted in my soul. And so we went ahead, popped my water, and we waited. Then I want to say about an hour after that, they decide to put me on Pitocin. I get on Pitocin, and at this time it's about 1:30, and I wait as long as I could, and in my head it felt like hours had gone by. But when they put Pitocin, in your IV, and it starts kicking those contractions up, and you're already like lifeless in your soul from just the amount of pain your whole body is in. Pitocin seriously hurts so bad. So about 30 minutes, so it's 1:30, I get my Pitocin. 30 minutes later at 2 o'clock, I asked for my epidural. I was done, I was ready to get some sleep, I wanted to be rejuvenated, and that's what we did. So about 2:30, the anesthesiologist comes in. I don't know why I say that word and I think of Anastasia Browse. Anybody else? No? Okay, just me. Anyway, so he comes in and they clear everybody else out of the room except for the nurse and then my husband. And so I'm sitting there, and Anthony, he had fallen asleep, so he didn't even know that I had requested for my epidural. He woke up when everybody was in the room getting ready to do everything. And so I told him, I was like, I'm getting my epidural, I just can't do it, whatever. And it was fine, it was okay. So the anesthesiologist, he puts the numbing on my back, and he's like, tell me, you know, you're gonna feel all this pressure, but it's gonna be fine, like you're not gonna feel much, but you will feel pressure and it'll be okay. It's gonna be a little cold here, you might feel a little stinging here, whatever. So he puts the numbing, and then he puts the large needle with the little cover over it directly into my spine, and when he did that, it literally felt like he was like popping bones, and I was like, and I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting pressure. He told me pressure. I wasn't expecting the crackling in my back. Like, and instantly I flinched, and then so I go, I'm so sorry. He goes, it's okay, nurse. Can you just, like, you know, gently hold her? And I was like, okay, cool. Somebody's holding me. I need somebody to hold me. And so she held me. He got it. And we waited there for about 30 minutes because I wasn't feeling anything. I wasn't feeling anything on either side. I was able to wiggle my toes. I was able to move my legs. I was able to get up and stand if I needed to. Like, nothing was happening. So he kept giving me a dose and then a dose and then a dose until I could feel something. At some point, I don't even believe I felt it, but I was like, you know what? It's okay. I'm distracted from my contractions, so I'm okay. Like, I don't really need it. So if I, you know, like, we're cool. I'll lay down. As soon as I lay down, I start feeling it. Like, it feels so weird. Like, I'm not high in the head. Nothing is, like, changed mentally, or, you know, it's just, I'm numb from the waist down, which is such a weird sensation. It's so weird. It's like, it feels like a spider's, like, crawling. One spider is, like, crawling on your, like, you know, like, how it tickles, but it's, like, all over your legs, but it, I don't want to say it feels like spiders crawling on your legs, but, you know, pins and needles. You guys know that feeling. So I lay down and I start feeling it, and everybody's cleaning up, and then we all notice that the anesthesiologist had a large wet mark all over him, and we discovered that it was actually, I had leaked all over him, and I felt so bad, and I was just apologizing. I'm one of those people that I apologize, and I apologize, and I apologize, and I don't want to come off rude, and I just want you to know that I'm just going through something. Don't hate me if I, you know, say something wrong or do something wrong or inappropriate or whatever, you know. So I apologize, and he's like, oh no, it's fine. He's like, I have extra clothes in the locker, like, we're all good. So then everybody leaves my room, and then I go to sleep. I knock out. I honestly did not wake up until 10:30 the next morning. And I woke up and I was like, oh, I'm in, like, the hospital room. All this time, whenever the nurses would check me or anything like that, I was so knocked out, and I was numb from the waist down, so if they did check me, like, I didn't feel that. I didn't feel it at all. So I wake up at 10:30, and I actually wake up to a nurse checking me. And my sisters are all awake, like, everybody's awake, everybody's, like, you know, around me, making sure everything's good, letting me sleep, letting me do my thing. And the nurse tells me, you know, what was it? Whew. She says, you're at 9.5 centimeters and 80% effaced. And she goes, she's sunny side up right now, so what we're going to do is we're going to call your doctor in and we're going to see if he wants to do anything. He ended up coming in reaching all the way up there and turning her around. Luckily, I had my epidural, and that was great. So I didn't feel any of that. And now all we had to do was, just kind of finish, open me up, 100% effaced, if you know what I mean. So they gave me a peanut ball. It's just like a workout ball, the round workout ball, but it's like pinched in the middle, so it looks like a peanut. And you put it in between your thighs, and then you shift from side to side I think it was like every 15 minutes. And so that's what I did for the next couple hours until I was like completely effaced. That's what I did. And although I couldn't feel my legs, I was still able to move my legs, wiggle my toes, lift my legs up if I wanted to. I'm sure if I really wanted to walk, I could have, but I didn't because they wouldn't allow me to get out of bed. So I was sitting up, I was like swinging my legs all around and just doing the thing, had that peanut ball going back and forth, and then finally, I believe it was 1:40. It was about there. It was like 1:30, 1:40-ish. I started feeling the need to go number 2, which was a strange feeling for me. I don't know why. Like, I feel like I've heard a million people say this, but like in that moment, it was like, what the hell am I feeling? Like, this is weird. Why the heck do I have to poop right now? Like, it was so bizarre to me, and so I just kind of zoned off, and I was like just thinking about it, like, oh yeah, I definitely have to go number 2 for sure. I think so. And my sister Jessica, she looks at me and she sees that I'm just like staring off, and she goes, Hannah, are you ready to push? And I'm like, no, I don't think so. I was just trying to see if I can feel anything through the epidural. I was like, I'm just trying to get focused so I can see if I can feel anything, and I'm just trying to play it off like I don't feel anything. So I just wanted to make sure in my head that I knew that that's what that was, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, so another 15-20 minutes go by, and then I feel that pressure again, but this time it's a lot worse, and I was like, whew. And my sister instantly saw that look on my face. She goes, Hannah, are you ready to push? And I was like, I think I'm getting close, but I don't think I'm ready to call my nurse in yet. And she was like, okay, well, whenever you feel the need to call your nurse in, call your nurse in. Like, don't play with this. And I was like, okay. So about 2:20, I get that feeling again. And it's like stronger this time. And I was like, ooh, whew, I really need to go number 2. Like, this is no joke. And so I tell Anthony, I go, babe, can you grab the speaker thing so I can call my nurse in? And my sister goes, why are you calling the nurse? Why are you calling the nurse? I was like, because I think it's time for me to push, but I'm not sure. I just want to get her opinion. So I call my nurse and I tell her, hey, I think I'm ready to push. Can you come and check me? And she's laughing because the girl next door, we came in at the same time for an induction, and we were pretty much neck and neck with where we were at in our deliveries, and she was covering both of our rooms. So whoever delivered first, she was going to be in that delivery room. And so she had just went in there to check to see if she was ready, and she wasn't ready yet. And then she was coming over to me to check to see if I was ready. But your girl was ready. Your girl was ready to start pushing. So she tells me, okay, sorry. So she tells me, okay, we're going to do a practice push on your next contraction. We're going to hold up your legs, and we're going to see how it's going, okay? And I was like, okay, cool. So Anthony hitches up my leg, and then the nurse grabs my other leg, and she goes, okay, your contraction's getting ready to start. All right, it's here. Okay, on the count of 3, push, okay? And 1, 2, 3, and I push so hard. I didn't know I was one of those screamers. I honestly had no idea that I would be a screamer during labor and delivery. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's like so dramatic, but in that moment, it was bad. It was so bad. And she tells me, oh yeah, you are definitely ready to push. Her head's right there. She's got a whole head full of hair. And Anthony is like tripping on his, he's like, babe, she has like a lot of hair. And I'm like, can you take a picture of it? And he's like, yeah, of course. And so he's like, I can try. And the nurse is like, well, here, on your next push, I'll I'll support you, and Dad, you get in there and you take the pictures when I tell you to take the pictures. So she is holding my legs for me, and she goes, okay, contraction's coming, okay, ready, push. And so I push, and she's like, okay, hold it, don't let your hair out, just hold it. And she's like holding me open, like making sure you could see Alicia's head and everything. And Anthony's taking pictures. She's like, okay, Dad, take pictures now. And he's taking pictures, and he's like showing me. I was like, that is so crazy. But I got the best freaking nurse, because she was like, it was like a photo shoot in there. She knew exactly which angles to get that didn't look bad, but was like perfect for, like, you know, seeing the baby. They were so awesome and so freaking cool. Like, I'd never seen anything that cool. And I had been into labor and delivery rooms before for, you know, my cousins and my sisters and whatever. So, like, I'm not new to this, but this is new to my body. So I was so excited. And then she goes, okay, cool, I'm going to call your doctor. We are only going to have 3 people in the room, so you need to make a decision who you're having in and get everybody out so we can start pushing. And this is the only time during the whole thing where we had any type of drama. It was super light and simple drama, but, like, it made me cry in the moment. So it was supposed to be Anthony, my dad, and Anthony's grandmother in the room. Those were who we had chose. My dad was my support team, and his grandma was his support team. So that's who it was. Now, if you guys remember, my sisters are in the room, and they're hoping one of these support teams don't make it so one of them could get in, which is perfectly fine. I would love to have all of my family in there if I could have, but they only wanted 3 people in there, so we made our decisions. Let's go. Well, Anthony's grandma, she lives in San Diego, which is 2.5 hours away from us, from where our hospital is. So she had to, you know, make sure that it was like really go time before she left her house, and that she would have enough time to make it there to the hospital. And she barely made it there. And so we're in that pushing time, and I'm pushing in between, and I'm like, oh, just like decide who wants to stay in the room. I'm not focused on that. Just, y'all are adults, decide for yourself. I honestly would love to have you both in here, but you guys need to choose, like, leave me out of this, like, don't. I am a Libra. I cannot make a decision for the life of me, and then you're gonna, like, put somebody's feelings on the line. Like, no. Yes, I'm an adult and I can make my own decisions, and I did. Something's failed, and it's not on my end. Y'all need to figure it out. Like, do something. So my sisters, Jessica and Elizabeth, they get into a little spat. Beth's like, yeah, it's fine, whatever. Like, we can go into the hall and discuss it out. And Jessica's like, no, Hannah needs to decide because it's her delivery room. And I'm like, I don't want to decide, and I start crying. And then finally, they leave the room, and then guess who comes walking in? Dun, da, da, da! Anthony's grandma, Nana. She's our Nana. She comes into the room, and then all the fighting stops. Everything's good. The doctor comes in, and we start pushing. And so at 2:30 was the official start time of pushing, and I pushed for a whole hour up until 3:29 is when Alicia was born. Now, I wasn't pushing the whole hour, and it honestly felt like maybe 30 minutes that I was pushing. It didn't feel like the longest time. My contractions were taking their time coming, and, you know, you only push when you have a contraction. And if you don't want, or like if you want to try and push in between contractions, you can, but it's not really necessary type, you know. I was just going with my body, with whatever my body wanted to do. I threw up all the water and snacks that my sisters snuck into me, because you're not supposed to eat when you're in labor. You're not supposed to eat. Like, they advise against it. Like, they'll give you Jello or whatever, but nothing actually substantial or anything. So my sisters brought me snacks because I love them and they love me. And yeah, so the worst thing that happened was that I threw up really. That was unexpected. I was like screaming and whatever. But the throwing up was pretty much the grossest they got besides her actually coming out. I didn't go number 2 on myself, even though I had all of those weird foods to eat before I went in. I thought for sure I was going to, but I didn't. Thank goodness, by the grace of God, I did not. So at 2:29, Alicia was born. She was 21 and a half inches long, and she weighed 9 pounds, and she was my big girl. She looked huge. When they put her on me, I was like, are you sure this is a damn newborn? Like, but eventually, like, she swelled down, and she actually, like, looked like a newborn eventually, because they lose weight after you give birth. If you didn't already know that, they lose weight for a little bit, but it goes right back up, and there's a whole growth chart for that. Your pediatrician will direct you on what is normal and not normal and whatnot, so don't worry about it. Perfectly fine. But she was born March 2nd at 3:29 p.m. in the afternoon, weighing 9 pounds and 21 and a half inches long. And yeah, that was our special day. It was amazing. Like, honestly, I left there with so much positivity and, like, love, and it was such a good experience. Like, it did not make me not want to ever have kids. Like, women say that, like, my labor and delivery was an easy labor and delivery compared to what a lot of these women go through. And so for God, I'm so grateful that He had blessed me with that beautiful journey. And so that's my labor and delivery story. If you guys enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Also hit the like button. Don't forget the bell notification right next to the subscribe button so you can be notified every time I post a video. I know this video was a little bit all over the place, and I appreciate you guys coming on this journey with me, and I can't wait to start filming my ovulation videos and stuff like that. I know I said in previous videos that I wasn't going to be uploading too many TTCing videos, but I've had a lot of requests to start doing that, and honestly, I have so much fun, TTCing, and so I would love to share some tips and tricks with you guys. So if you guys are into videos like that, you know what to do. Comment down below what your favorite part of my story was, or comment down below what your labor and delivery story was. I love hearing everybody's labor and delivery stories, and honestly, the first thing that I tell new mothers that are newly pregnant for the first time ever is, you're going to hear so many stories, and it's going to be annoying, but eventually you're going to be one of us, and you're going to want to share your story all over the damn place, because look at me, I'm on YouTube sharing my damn story. Anyways, I love you guys, and I just want to say thank you, and see you guys in my next video.